Hello?
What's up, girl? What happened after Tony dumped you?
Girl, I'm over it. I went from heartbreak to hate.
Oi, Joy. What's with all the S-ing feedback?
I didn't realize we were recording is what happened.
Why wouldn't we be recording?
Listen, sometimes I go into my own internal world, and it just happened at the wrong time.
Or the right time.
Or the right time.
Maybe you were hissing at me.
No. We're getting along today. We haven't even had any mini fights today.
No.
It's a special day.
Special day. Yeah.
You don't sound like you believe it.
I don't believe in anything anymore. You know my life. I just
You don't even get excited about the little things. I thought I was surprising you with ice cream, and you were like, oh, so do we have to go back right away? I was like, well, damn, it's not the level of excitement I was looking for, but that's fine.
Oh, well, you know me. I'm a flat line.
You are a flat line. It's fine.
It's who I am. It's either take it or you're never going to get the beep, beep, beep from me. It's always like that's just my life.
True enough.
I do see you trying your best.
Mm-hmm.
It is appreciated.
Okay.
But I won't vocalize it
Okay.
during that moment.
During that moment. Got it.
Because the only joy I have in my life is you. Meaning
know.
that because your name is Joy.
I understand.
So,
I got you.
okay. So, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about all things interracial.
Interracial.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still the right words?
I don't know that the kids have come up with a fancy new term yet. I'm sure it's coming.
I'm sure it is. We'll look it up while we're on our next break or get one of the interns to do it. Can you tell Sarah?
Okay. Yes, Sarah, please get on that. Look that up. Find out. Instagram it, Twitter, whatever.
Interracial is not spelled with 2 T's.
Yeah, I did know that.
Oh, it's been a day. It's been a day.
So, obviously, when you hear the word interracial,
Mm-hmm.
people usually think romantic relationships.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get to that.
We're going to get there.
Not yet. We're gonna take the full journey, the full quest, if you will, and we're gonna back it up to when you're a kid.
Kidness.
Because kids, they don't have the prejudice that adults do usually.
Right, unless they're started pretty early.
Unless they're started really early.
Yeah.
Kids don't care. They'll play with anybody.
Yeah.
It's more about, do you do the things that I do? Like,
right. It's
if
interest.
Exactly. Like, if I'm into the little Tonka toys, I know that's not a thing anymore. But if I'm into playing cars and you want to play dolls.
Actually, Hot Wheels are back, so we can use Hot Wheels.
Okay, good.
My
Hot
nephew
Wheels.
collects Hot Wheels.
So if I'm into Hot Wheels and you're into dolls, then we can't be friends. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
Because that's how kids operate.
Or you're gay.
Again, not something kids usually focus on.
Well, kids do say things like, that's a girl's toy.
They do.
Because gender is pushed a lot faster than race.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, because, it's still, gender reveals still have to have a certain colors. And so I was just trying to expand on why.
Do you know what?
that
Do you know what the
is.
funny thing about gender reveals? I feel no matter what color you put on the wall, the baby's still going to be white. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay.
Because white people do that shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if black people are into gender reveals. I'm going to say every time I see an article or something about it, it's usually white people. But that's not white people's fault. Maybe they just really want to.
No, it's not their fault because they will take a simple idea and go with it. It only takes one Betsy to tell the other Betsies this is a great new thing.
We're taking such a sidestep.
No.
But I am going to blame Pinterest. Hear me out.
Okay.
Once people started Pinteresting things and it was kind of like how you could bring HGT lives to
Right.
you. Like, oh, you could have this little bit of flair yourself and do something really cute, right? And I feel like that's what gender reveals kind of became. Like, once somebody figured out how to inject fucking pink dye into cupcakes or whatever, stick little girl toys
Or take a
inside.
palette which already has horizontal lines on it and make it into a flag because that's reaching.
Right.
Painting a color on a horizontal line.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
once one person did it, everybody had to do it.
Everybody. They pinned it. Like we were going to pin this conversation.
Yeah.
So you were saying.
So, yeah, I was just saying, I think that's kind of why gender reveals became a big thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a cute idea. That would bring, like, some little kind of glam to our lives. And then everybody had to come up with their own version of how to be fancy.
But that's another thing though. That's like, are gender reveal parties different than the baby shower?
I feel like they are.
Are they
Because gender happens a lot. Like, this. And see, here's the thing. This is the other thing. We can't talk about it today. Gender
Right.
is different than sex.
Right.
When you find out the sex of the baby
Yes.
is a lot sooner, usually, than when you have the baby shower. Usually have the baby shower a lot closer to when you're
Right,
going to have
because
the
it's
baby
like
itself.
what? It's like 10 week, 10, 9, 10, 12, something.
No, usually about 20 weeks, I think.
Oh, is it 20?
You find out the sex.
I thought they only carried them for 8 weeks. So
You are a mess.
they're
Okay.
all zebras.
Wonderful. Back to children.
As you were saying, so if I have an interest in Hot Wheels, you have an interest in Hot Wheels. We're 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
We don't care what skin color the other one. We're both into the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of mixing when you're young, which I'm sure is interesting for the parents, right? Because
Right.
when you and I were kids, play dates weren't really a thing. It was kind of like, get the hell out the house, find who you can,
Right.
just make sure you're back at a certain time. But now parents actually schedule these play dates, and so you go to different houses, and then the moms have to basically have their own play date, or mom and dad, or whatever it is.
Or mom gets drunk by herself. Right?
You take over. I can't.
So what you're saying is hit the streets, kids, find some friends. I mean, that's what we did.
That's what we did.
Like there was no social classes.
Not really.
I mean, you knew where the rich kids were because they're the nicer houses, but like you could play equally.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really go to rich people's houses because I lived in a trailer park.
And that's
So
a lot of it's proximity.
yes,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? So that was a lot of it. Now, elementary school, up through high school, the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, then everybody starts having cliques.
Right.
And sometimes that can get more racial. But I still feel like, for the most part, it wasn't really about that. It depends on how well your town had a mix of
Right.
races.
Yeah, it depends on how the mixture begins at the top. Because if your parents don't have friends who are black, I mean, it's not natural, but like you don't see things. You mimic things when you're younger that you see adults doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if your parents don't have friends who are black, maybe you subconsciously think you can't have friends who are black. Or that's not what you do when you get older, or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to justify. No. I'm trying to play the other side of maybes on this.
I hear you, but I'm trying to think myself, because I'm just thinking from my own life experience, right? So my mom, when I was younger, I don't know that she really had white friends
Right.
herself, but I had a lot of white friends. But then again, I was used to a lot of the classes I was in. I was one of two black people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, I really think like your circumstance and proximity plays into things.
Availability,
it's like, yeah, we're gonna study together. Oh, we become friends. That kind of thing. College
different.
is a whole different world. Like, Higher Learning came out. The movie came out before I went into college.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about all these separate worlds.
Right.
And then I got there.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. And I kind of thought, no way. You know what I mean? Because in our town, people mixed. It was, whether or not you wanted to be popular, or you were a sporty kid, or you were an artsy kid, or an outcast. It didn't have anything to do with race. But, oh, you better believe it has everything to do with race in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. Do you have any theories?
No, I just think that sometimes people reach for other people who have similar experiences to them, or who are going through experiences together, so they, unconsciously or consciously segregate into things. I also feel that people are forced into segregation
Yes.
by availability of things to them.
I appreciate you setting me up. It's like you just set up a layup for me again, and I'm going to slam this bitch. So, funny you should mention that. It just so happened that when I went to college, I was in the engineering program. And so when you're in the engineering program, like everybody that's, for the most part, everybody who's going to be in that kind of program, they're kind of nerdy, right? Like, you don't think you're the coolest thing on the planet and you decide to pursue a life of math and science.
I mean, you don't go from like influencer model on Instagram to an electrical engineering degree.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. Like, I'm just like, dude, we're a bunch of nerds, bless our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So
nerds that make the world go around, literally.
True.
Not literally, because that would mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But,
But yeah, so a bunch of nerds. So you figure nerds would just unite, period.
Right.
Revenge of the Nerds taught me that nerds unite.
Well, yeah, if one black gay nerd is going to be with the other nerds.
But they never gave him a hard time.
Never did. Thank you, Lamar.
But, au contraire. It's like, all of a sudden, the white kids didn't want to study with us. The Asian kids didn't want to study with us. And by us, I mean the black and Latino kids.
Right. The brown
Kind of.
kids.
Yeah. We all kind of, the darker colors, if you will.
Yes.
Just kind of like come together and it's like, well, I guess we're sticking together and we're working together because nobody else thinks that we can do this work. You know what I mean? There's like that doubt.
Because even in the engineering field, like it's there's racial biases that are put into it. So
Absolutely.
like you have, white kids that could do that, but even more so, it's an expectation that an Asian person can do this better.
Yes.
Or a South Asian person can do this better.
And that comes from the top
down. Absolutely.
Because professors have that bias and they're short of saying it in those words, but they practice it.
Absolutely.
Quite evidently. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Could you say white evidently, please? Instead of quite, because I think that would be better. White evidently. Yeah, no, so that's it. So you guys had to band together as the outcast among engineering nerds.
Yeah. And like I said, it was a shock for me because before, my friends were some of everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think there were any gay people or lesbians that were my friends because nobody was out in our town at that time.
That was the 90s. Like,
exactly. It was not a time.
No.
We weren't there yet.
We still hadn't had the catalyst, which was Matthew Shepard's death, to like force that into conversation. So
people were still way underground.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a really, and I don't want to say it was a bad shock. It was just like, wow, so we can't just get along regardless of what we look like? Like, it just was weird to go backwards in time the older I got.
But that's what you find. The older you get, even more so, a lot of people outside of college, they have that one black friend in college. Mm-hmm. And then that's the only black friend they ever have because they settle into their white lives or white lies. And that's their existence for the rest. They're just going to ride that out.
Yeah.
But it is weird how it starts off innocent, like there's no division. And I mean, I had a different experience because my mother had black friends, Latino friends, gay friends. So, and then I lived in, a trailer park for a lot of my younger life. And then we lived in high rise, what you would call projects, segregated housing for the poor.
Right.
We lived in those as well. So like the mixture is everybody's in the same position.
Yeah.
Obviously, white people are better off because we have that privilege built in. But still, as far as economically, we're all poor. All of our moms are working. Mm-hmm. A lot of our parents were divorced. A lot of our parents, we had like a whole group of friends. I had a whole group of friends when I was younger. Nobody's dad was in the picture.
Okay.
That we were kind of like, early on when they start asking you about your dads, your parents, and blah, 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 and kids say stuff about that. Like, we kind of latched on to each other because none of us had dads and we also agreed to just say our dads were dead, even though they weren't. just to just to add a little spice to
Wow.
people's lives.
Nice.
Yeah, a little lie. I mean, my dad's death was really traumatic because a train derailed and smashed him.
Oh, okay.
My dad is still alive.
Right,
To
I was
this
just saying,
day.
it's like, oh, that's an amazing story you came
But
up
I would
with.
tell people that because it's easier than saying my dad was an abusive father and we escaped his abuse by moving to another state and living in a trailer park.
That's true.
So, dead dad.
Just from
easier.
people's reactions alone.
Yeah, because back then no one cared about abuse,
No, and
child abuse at
people
all.
just freeze.
It was like, oh, you were probably a bad kid. Yeah, I was bad. I was 2 years old and I ate with my mouth open, so I needed to get punched. But my experience was that it was, I had friends with all races. We played together. We went to junior high. Went to a junior high that was more where whites were a minority in the school. So that was, I mean, it's not like a interesting. It is interesting if you're a white person, but I didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing now, moving into high school into an all-white area,
Right.
that was all, one black person in the entire school. Like, that was really eye-opening for me that people had no... Because, I mean, people called each other names, but black kids used the N-word towards each other jokingly. I mean, that was the thing, is like people would make fun of you jokingly, but not really. And it's all those things that we're stopping now. But like, because we were all in the economical like line of just being poor,
Yeah.
trash, no color needed, that we all got along really well. Fights or whatever happens because that's friends. But like when I moved to all white, it was completely different. Like, it was weird. I didn't know that I don't think I knew other white people, but I didn't know that other white people hated other races as much
Okay.
as they will say they do, because the other white people I was around weren't feeling those feelings.
Right. So it's
So-
almost like you get in this new environment and you're like in a secret club that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, like
Because
that's
I'm sure the things that you heard.
Oh yeah, and the things that,
Yeah.
like like I talked before, I had one of my friends who was in high school with me. She was the only black girl, biracial girl in the school, and the things that they would say to her and joking, and I would be like, "Oh, you let them say that to you?" And she'd be like, "Oh, that's the nickname I've had since I was in like Oreo."
Yeah.
Like, that is not okay. And so
No.
I'm not trying to wasn't trying to preach to her as a white man who knows things. I'm just like, she had no clue.
Yeah. No, just heard it since she was little.
It's heard it since she was little. They'd always call her that because her mom was white and her dad was black. Just
Mm.
always said that to her, and I was just like, ooh, no.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got our driver's licenses, we were out trying to find other people, hitting the malls in the big cities just so we could mix with people who weren't all white people.
Yeah. And here's another piece that I'm going to throw out. People may not like, but here's just some really true truths. Is that, call it right or wrong, there are the things that we do just to make it through each day, right?
Yeah.
So, like, while she probably didn't know any better, I know people who have encountered, like, people say certain things, and you just decide which things you're going to let slide, because I have to see these people every day. I have to deal with this shit every day. And when you're younger, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's harder to stand up for yourself when you're younger,
Absolutely.
as opposed to when you're, grown, you've got your own money, you've got your own transportation.
And sometimes you don't know
It's
things
different.
are bad, like
Yeah.
necessarily bad. I mean, a lot of times people do have to tell you that, like, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. But yeah, and so you just, like we were talking about microaggressions. It's kind of the things. It's like, well, what point do you? How many of these are you gonna fight this week?
Exactly.
Because you can't do it all.
You can't do it all, so you just figure out, okay, what things. All right, that one can go. You know what I mean? I gotta save my strength for the next big ridiculous thing.
And then if your whole entire HR staff is white, what are you gonna do about it? Speaking,
It's a discussion for another day.
like, yeah, speaking just like in a varied
Right.
scenario.
Yeah. So, college,
College,
more separated,
yeah,
but then also, that's about the time. Maybe in high school, I didn't see it as much in high school, but then that's about the time that you really start. Who am I gonna love? Who am I gonna be in a relationship with?
Who do you love? Yeah.
And that's when you start to see the interracial of it all. Like I said, sometimes you see it before. Like older people in our town, there was always Champaign just has a high ratio of biracial
Yeah.
kids
Absolutely.
and families. They
Mhm.
just always have, but always okay. 95.5% of the time, white woman, black man.
Oh.
Now, the times are changing, but when back in my day, always that was the mix. That's what it was.
That is the truth.
Then I was just like, you lean back, like I'm just don't want any parts of this. I will now put it in reverse.
So the reason I leaned back is I thought you were going to say something that I had noticed whenever I was younger, was that not older people as in our age now from when we were kid perspectives, but like older people
Oh, okay.
will, I don't know so much this generation, because this generation, the baby boomers are a little bit different, a little bit more entitled, and a little bit more racist. But back when I was a kid, I remember seeing multiple people who, in their later years, 70s, 80s, would couple interracially just as companions.
Okay. I don't know if I remember that as much.
I just remember some, old white-haired women.
Right.
Obviously not in my hometown. Shout out to no, that's not happening there, Bill. But yeah, like I just remember seeing that, or maybe I saw it in movies or something like that. But I was just like, maybe it was Driving Miss Daisy I was thinking about.
I get what you mean.
It's just because sometimes you just get to the point in your life where those things don't matter anymore. Like, I think you have to get to that point.
I think you have to.
Like, you settle into who's going to be around you when you're an old crotchety motherfucker that no one wants to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
my pool of people is very small.
So you have no room to discriminate.
I have no room to discriminate, and I don't. I don't at all. So.
No, it's true. I would say that I could see it now. I think sometimes I've seen with my own grandmother just how fun it gets, because that's a whole different generation.
Yeah.
That's like 30s and stuff. So
right.
The old prejudices are there, and now you're old enough where you don't really care. You can be friends, but every once in a while, a comment will come out, or you'll see somebody's, like they have like the apartments all together in a building, for senior living, and you'll see somebody has like the blackface figurines. Haven't got the slightest clue. I know you're doing that. I know you're doing the breathing, but there are genuinely people who don't. They've never seen it as a bad thing.
I just like the way they look.
I promise you, these are the things
That's
people
what they say. Yes,
with
absolutely.
sincerity.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yes.
I mean, because I was a vintage person, shopper, vintage stores, stuff like that, and the cracker cackling that would happen when some old white woman came upon one of those mammy jars, and just had to purchase it.
Yeah,
it's just so cute.
And it's kind of horrible, but pretty much I would say 3 out of 5 antique shops I've been in has some collection of those items. Always.
Yeah.
Just always.
It's Americana, Joy. It's Americana.
I'm going to shake my head. We're going to go back to love, shall we? Let's go back to love.
Love. So you said that predominantly black male, white female.
That was like the flavor back in the day.
That was it.
But now, we're switching it up.
I think she's talking about personal experiences.
I have dated white men.
Yes.
But no, more and more there are more black women dating white men, and that's not the only combination. So we should also get into that there are other mixes allowed.
There are, but I just want to say, just for a caveat, that it's more acceptable even in the black community for it to be a black male and a white female than it is for a black female to date a white man.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because that black man is still.
Well, I mean,
he's still in trouble.
No, he's still in trouble.
He's in trouble.
But you don't.
But I hear what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I get what you're saying.
Because that falls into male female equality as well. So if it's a male fucking a white woman, then he's just getting his dick wet. He's just doing his thing. Blah 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 blah. If it's a woman, she's looked at differently. Like she's trying to get something out of.
And honestly, not even necessarily just in the black race. I know I've had other races have made comments when I've seen black women and white men out.
Oh, yeah.
And about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially it intensifies the more variant, like the more disparity there is between the two shades of them. Like if it's more shocking of a couple together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
You know, as opposed to like a light skin, someone like me and a white man, it's not as shocking to people because people have assumed we're a couple before.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
nobody-
we still get looks too.
We get looks, but we don't get crazy looks now.
No.
A dark skinned black woman and a white man.
So
like no sun.
Adrian and I used to get like the most. I mean, Adrian is not super dark, but she's a darker skinned woman.
Yeah, it's
like,
much more noticeable.
Yeah, much more noticeable. And she, you know, we'd go out and stuff like that, and we would be the worst people possible.
Oh yeah.
Because when people would look at us, we'd be like, "Oh, I love sucking your white cock. Oh, I love eating your black pussy." Like we would do that shit so that they could hear us.
Wow.
Because we're evil. So.
But now, like I said, so in essence, it's not as shocking anymore when it happens.
No.
How do you feel when you see other interracial mixings? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I think my internal dialogue is more like a good for them kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
Like, because, you know, I don't typically see black women dating Asian men, but I have. And I think I don't know, I think it's good for every single race of people, which, you know, race is bullshit anyway, but like every single group of people to have people from every group of people dating, because I feel that creates a more universal but like
it helps us understand
each other. Like,
absolutely.
you know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, we eat at, you know, Indian restaurants, we eat at Chinese restaurants, you know, as whatever race that we are, that we're not of that race.
Mm-hmm.
But do we ever think of them anything other than Chinese people at a Chinese restaurant?
Right. Do you know, like, really how culture works and
Yeah,
you know, how
absolutely.
their family structures are and
So
things like that?
I feel that, like, because you see that in, you know, some businesses and some other cultures, like Chinese culture, you know, a lot of the family works in the business together.
Mm-hmm.
Like in white culture, it wouldn't work out that way. Black culture, I don't feel like that would be a good thing either, because you fight with your family more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, white people and black people kind of have similar, but just like any time that there is an interracial couple, I think is amazing to me personally.
Yeah, I would agree from that standpoint of you definitely I feel like each interaction like that, whenever you date somebody and it's outside of your race and you go, okay, well, it's not a big deal and I can step outside of it. It's more about who you are. It just opens you up to a lot more things in general.
Absolutely.
And like you said, with the looks and all, it will also just increase your skin. It will make your skin much thicker is what I'm getting at, boys and girls, because people are going to look, people are going to say things.
Mm-hmm.
I also find, I'm going to tell myself here for a second, that it's a good indicator of the thoughts that happen in your head. Like, if I see an Asian woman and a black man together, I think to myself, ooh, I know her family is upset. And then I'm like, well, that's the old thoughts. I don't know her. I don't know her family.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know what I mean? Like, all the ideas we have of reactions that come from years ago and are probably outdated. You know what I mean?
It's those biases that everybody still has in their head.
That
and
still
you think that, you know, somebody is, you know, after money if they're you know, like that used to be a thing with, you know, black women were after money if they were dating white men. White men are just as fucking broke. Like, that's the thing, is like everybody, they fit, like one time happened is a blanket for every single situation.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's absolutely not. So you've dated white men.
Mm-hmm. I have.
I have too.
Congratulations. You've dated black men.
I've dated black men.
Yeah,
I've dated Asian men.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've dated...
South Asian.
You've dated most of
most
of the
South
races.
American, Puerto Rican, Dominican,
Yeah, okay.
Mexican. So yeah, there's many different
Party.
there's many different types of guys I don't, and that's the thing, is because people say those stupid shit like, "Oh, I just don't find black men attractive," or "I just don't find Latinx men attractive," and it's like what don't, like, I don't understand that.
I don't
find every white person attractive for sure.
I definitely find men attractive in all races.
Absolutely.
But I've not always had the opportunity because I'm not a chaser. You know what I mean? So it's like if they haven't
initiated.
then it's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen because I'm one of
Right.
those.
She's one of those wallflowers.
I am. Listen, I get real shy and I get real like I talk a lot of
Introspective.
shit. I talk a big game that I ain't going to live out in real life. I can be honest.
I think your next album should just be how you want to fuck a ginger cock. It's Miss Petty Cake on the prowl. I think once you write that ginger cock song, they're gonna come running.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
that different side of you. But yeah, I don't discriminate against people as far as dating, especially.
No, because it's really the individual person. Because you can, at the same token, it could be against one race, like even your own race. Like,
Oh
ooh,
yeah.
he looks just like so and so, and that motherfucker wasn't shit.
Shit. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing. The older you get, the more you tend to have a bias, regardless.
And remember that to be beautiful and natural is the birthright of every woman. And I wish you all loads and loads of loveliness and good luck.